Hey, how's it going?
We are back. We are back.
We are back. We are back. It's Joel.
Devin.
And it's the WolfPac. And normally we would be joined by our illustrious third best friend, Corey, but he's unfortunately out of town. I believe he's playing
Pokemon TCG?
Pokemon TCG out in Kansas. So best of luck to him.
We do a little bit of that.
A little of that. But Devin, too sweet, bro?
A little bit of a for life.
For life. The
Too
WolfPac
sweet.
explodes here on another exciting podcast. Tune in, sit down. We're going to go over some notes, some fallouts from this past week. It is, as of today, the 9th of March. So we have some things to go through. And then we're also on the road to Wrestlemania as well. So most importantly, let's go ahead and talk about some updates in our 2024 WolfPac League.
You guys notice I'm wearing a little bit of a bling bling because I'm bling bling right here. This actually is going to represent our interim WolfPac championship for right now. We will have an official belt coming soon. But big news, Joel, you want to go ahead and tell everyone who the new interim WolfPac champion is?
Since we just went through Elimination Chamber a few weeks ago, through our assortment of points at the end of the day, Corey, our third friend here, is our new interim world champion for the WolfPac League.
Yes,
I'm talking about a new belt. We're hoping to get one out as soon as even Fan Fusion. So if you're here live in the Valley, you might see a live debuting of a belt. That would be absolutely crazy.
Exciting stuff.
Confidence champs, on the other hand, I'll have to give it to the chairman.
All right, so for our confidence game, I actually, yours truly, the confidence points general manager, did take the crown. It was a very, very close game. I'll go ahead and then bring up the points just real quick here. So the rules for confidence, if you guys are familiar, a lot of other podcasters do this. So basically what we do is we just rank the order of our matches and how confident we are to the least confident we are in our predictions for winners. For this pay-per-view in particular, because there were only 4 matches and 1 through 4 seems, kind of lackluster, I figured I'd make it more exciting, and I would include the order of eliminations as well as the order of entry in the men's and women's elimination chamber matches. So a lot of really, really cool stuff ended up happening. I'll go ahead and I'll get to the order of eliminations and order of entry just because the main card was rather predictable, I'd say. I think everybody guessed, Rio winning. Everybody guessed Drew McIntyre winning. So, that was kind of the purpose for the order of entry and eliminations. So 3-way tie, I will say, to start this off. It was a 3-way tie in second place between Joel, our friend Orlando, and Corey. They all got themselves 30 points.
Close.
Very, very close. The 3 of them had accurately predicted, I believe, the men's order of entry.
We got 4 out of 6.
You got 4 out of 6. It was you, me, and Orlando guessed 4 out of 6 of them correct. And then for the men's order of elimination, and nobody got the men's order of elimination correct in any capacity. Nobody guessed.
Christian got Logan Paul.
However, Christian guessed Logan Paul, and that was the only correct guess there, securing him the points that he needed to give him his 2 points, basically. So he ascribed 2 points in his power rankings there and his confidence, and because he's the only one who got something correct, he's the only one who got 2 points.
That was a hard one to predict.
That was a crazy one to predict.
I had no idea where that was going to go for the men's. I think the women's was more predictable. Like, it was weird. Like, I felt like the women's was more easier to predict elimination, and it was easier for me to predict the entry for the men, not the other way around.
No, yeah, totally. Well, it was really funny because since we decided to include the order of elimination, the order of entry, I was trying my best to try and make everything make sense.
Yeah.
And when I got to the women's order of elimination, I'm thinking, like, well, Liv Morgan has been looking so strong lately. There's no way Liv isn't, like, in the final, 3. And I'm thinking, Liv might win this.
That's a big possibility a lot of people had.
It was such a crazy...
She has built-in story.
It is the wildest thing. I mean, it's psychological torture trying to figure out the order of elimination and order of entry.
And keeping everyone strong.
And keeping everybody strong and making sure that your confidence points are correct. Oh, I just had Corey send me a Snapchat, actually.
Perfect.
Curious how he's doing over there. But he needs to be here. He's our current champion. We'll go ahead and move things over along to the predictions side of things. If you want to do a little quick rundown of how the game went there at all.
Yeah, so we also, for every match, we tend to put a set of basically situations or scenarios that can unfold during the match. Stating yes or no can get you points if you get a correct answer. And then because of captains, if your captain is a participant in the match, not a manager, but an official participant of a match, every choice on that match option gets doubled. So even options in that match that don't necessarily per se mention your captain, it's just the virtue of them being in the match gives you additional it doubles the points because we want our captains to we want us to feel like they're on every card. They're doing so well and they give us more points and they enable us to be the world champion at the end of the year. So I think that really helped people like who has Christian and Rhea? Or who has Rhea and Drew?
No one has Rhea this year. You had Rhea last year.
I Rhea last year.
But so this year is an extraordinary year for captains. If you guys saw
Kevin has Drew, so he got massive points.
He has Nia Jax as well.
That's what it was.
And Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley. Kevin got double points for that. He got double points for Drew being a chamber. So Kevin kind of ran away with some points here that normally he probably wouldn't have gotten. So another thing that we got to mention here is Christian did get a new women's captain. Shotzi is confirmed to be out for some time, so she will not be able to compete for him this year. So Corey went ahead and did the honors and drafted Christian Bianca Belair, getting Christian double points in all of his Elimination Chambers predictions on the women's side because Bianca Belair was in.
Which leads into standings because, and for those who wanted to know why Bianca was drafted, we went back to the pool of available women from the Royal Rumble, and we drafted out of that pool that was full-time rosters from there. So that's where Christian had gotten Bianca. But unfortunately, in last place, it is myself at 1,001 points. And because of Christian's double points with Bianca, he managed to get himself up to, I believe this is 5th place with 1,104 points.
Yep.
We might have a little depiction here. Kevin has 1,121 points in 4th. Devin's in 3rd. He's our confidence champ, 1,169. 1,219. He was the first ever interim world champ. So he got dethroned, which looks like it's just by 41 points by Corey, who is currently our interim world champ. So far, we've had some title changes at the pay-per-views. We have some lineage to go with these belts, so it's getting really exciting the more deeper we go into the year, the way we can look back at these type of things. We obviously, save these formats for ourselves to look back on and to think, why would I say that? Why would I predict that? Why would I think that one would be over the other? But that's the crazy reality of our fantasy league. It's just that there's so many situations that can occur in any pay-per-view. Why not predict something? Why not be a little balls to the wall? Why not give yourself the ability to say, hey, maybe this will be a double GQ on the outside in the crowd with some kids eating some chips over the wrestlers? Why not? Just predict the most wildest thing ever. And I do want to reintroduce maybe at one point predicting just a spot, like an open forum. Mm-hmm. But we'll have to work the kinks on that because obviously wrestlers will wrestle in a ring. No way. We can't have that be your option. It has to be zany and out there. So
no, for sure. In case anyone's noticing why Kyle's name is crossed off in red, he is currently taking some time away to focus on his work. He's been very, very busy. But he hopes to be back by WrestleMania season. I'm hoping he's back as well.
Right.
The nice thing, of course, is that in the confidence division, none of the points will carry over. So while he may be behind a bit in the predictions game, there's nothing set in stone in the confidence division. So that guy can always come back. Our first ever confidence division champion. He could totally come back by WrestleMania season.
Not to mention that Kyle's also mentioned that he might want to come in and talk about some New Japan. So maybe once the bigger New Japan cards come in, Kyle will at least try to put more of his input in. I know he's a big proponent of the G1.
That'd be awesome.
They have another big summer pay-per-view. But
I'd love to have more guests in here, man.
Yeah, that's a part of our expansion, but it's also just showing off more of the WolfPac that we actually have. It's a group of us. We're the faces, we're the mouths, we're here as much as we can be, but they also participate with us. They also watch the product with us. They also engage themselves as much as as we do. So they're definitely an equal members to this WolfPac as we are. So
Yeah, man, always nice to have a face to the name.
so we're gonna go from confidence points. We're actually gonna talk about how we, the three of us, invaded SmackDown last week.
Oh yes,
Glendale, Arizona. We were there on I believe it was the 1st of March. Got invaded by WWE SmackDown. Your boys, the Wolfpac, was there. We were out beforehand, just letting you know that if there's ever a local card of WWE or AEW, be expecting to see the Wolfpac, be expecting to see them early, and you might even get a chance to come meet us, say hi, and win yourself a couple of goodies, which is what, if you go to our last YouTube video, you'll notice that a couple of fans were able to do that. They answered some questions, we got some feedback, we got into the mind of the fans, and we were able to just get some energy out of that too. And they were able to walk away with some goodies, and honestly, they were able to express themselves really well.
Yeah, give away a few WWE Panini trading cards. I believe one of them was autographed. Was Joe Gacy autographed?
I think Joe Gacy was autographed.
Yeah,
and
one of those.
Someone walked up with a Nikolai Volkov.
And the Nikolai Volkov.
That was a really perfect legend card.
Yeah, you guys were hoping nobody would pull that, but our first wave of interviewees. So yeah, super fun stuff. The fact that The Rock was there to do that for us was monumental. It was historical.
Lambasted our city and just got the biggest pop.
And we loved it. And honestly, I was honored to be a meth head Mary that night.
And a crackhead Karen.
And a crackhead Karen. Yeah.
No, trying to get yourself even to like a feeling of like 98, 99, 2000 Raw or SmackDown, where that energy was chaotic and crazy. I mean, this is probably the closest I've experienced to that.
Oh, no doubt.
Where like
no doubt.
Everything was raucous. Like nobody was stopping. Like nobody stopped their momentum of like cheering or booing or something. Yeah. Like once one chant ended, there was like another chant starting. There was all this momentum. It was crazy fire. And I think the seeing, going to that arena here in where the Suns play in Phoenix, I have seen it where it's half filled.
The Footprint Center.
So I've seen it at half filled for a SmackDown. Seeing it brim, full packed, nuts.
We were there, last year, and it wasn't. And
no, and it wasn't as packed as last year. There was open seats or like obviously they try to go to camera side.
And mind you, when The Rock came to Arizona last year in September, that was the week after he had returned the first time.
Correct.
So there was somewhat of an expectation that he could be there, and even with that expectation, like it still wasn't super packed. But this time they told us ahead of time, like he's going to be there. He's definitely going to be there, and because of that, it was packed to the brim. It's the Desert Diamond Arena is relatively small. It's pretty narrow. When you get to like the nosebleed, it's pretty steep. But that only like amplified the effect, the visual of a packed audience, and it was crazy getting to getting a 40-minute Rock segment of him just talking absolute trash, and everybody loving it.
You're right. Correction. So that where we were at was at the Desert Diamond Arena, but I've been to the Footprint Center where it's been half full.
Right.
We've been to a SmackDown where I think it was pretty half full.
Yes.
But this obviously was a big show, a big moment for the Bloodline, for The Rock. He acknowledged Roman Reigns.
He did.
He was going to give his catchphrase, and then Roman caught his arm.
No. And
he said, "Do you smell what the Bloodline was cooking?" Right? Or did he say acknowledge us?
No. So
I remember this.
So it was last night. Last night SmackDown, Roman told everybody to acknowledge us. Right. At our SmackDown, Roman told The Rock that he needed something from him, and
that's right.
Anybody could have said that they saw this coming, but once those words left Roman's lips, it's like you could hear a pin drop. And so Rock takes off the glasses, stares Roman in the eyes, says, "Roman Reigns, I acknowledge you as my tribal chief."
We got the one.
Crazy. He did that in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, of all places.
It was insane.
Historical night.
And those 40 minutes was like the price of admission alone. It was absolutely crazy.
They could have ended the show right there, and I would have been happy.
We got more of the show. Obviously, we kind of saw the heel turn officially of Dakota Kai.
Yes, yeah, that
so
too.
now
Two big story beats.
Yeah, which makes sense because now I feel like Bailey's gonna have to beat every member leading up to EO. So so I think that like timing wise that makes a little sense. So I want to touch into this week's SmackDown soon, but if I remember correctly, the main event of the Friday night SmackDown we attended was that Cody? No.
So there were the two dark matches that we saw
Yeah,
that weren't
one
aired.
was
Cody and Drew was like the main event,
and then the Miz and
Damian Priest was one of them. The main event for SmackDown that night was
we had Carlito, Santos,
Tiffany, and Naomi was immediately after the segment.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody kind of got, in a bind about with the whole Rock segment going over time was that Tiffany and Naomi had to be cut short.
Yes.
I mean, they've cut entrances before, so I understand Naomi has not gotten like the best treatment since coming back, being first
which leads into
in the chamber
this
and all
week's
that.
SmackDown actually. But yeah, I think the main event from that night's SmackDown was Randy Orton versus Austin Theory.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Randy Orton and Theory because they did Waller and Cody on Monday the night before last week. So
which leads into this week's SmackDown and Raw, honestly. So probably more Raw for me because it's a little bit more current, but or SmackDown for me because it's a little bit more current. But let me pull up the Raw results here because we did have the main event with Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, which kind of like there was no high stakes to the match.
No.
It's we know Drew's in the main event. His portion of WrestleMania, or at least have a main event in WrestleMania. Yeah. We know that now. I think this was more of setting up Cody and Seth's portion.
All the shenanigans.
Where we had Diarrhea Dwayne.
Yeah.
Which popped off.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. It popped off last night as it popped off. It's just one of those things where it's like
Texas, man.
I know, but I think it's just like it's not something that it's like the what chant where it's like it's more dangerous.
Oh, they love the what chant in Texas.
I know, but it's more dangerous than it is helpful because it's like
when something's boring, it's more distracting.
When something's boring, it's like what, and then it makes it feel like when there's something that needs to be like what, it doesn't feel as big because it's always used.
Because it's always no, you're right. That's a good point actually.
I think that it loses its value because it's being used more consistently. But I think 100%. The Diarrhea Dwayne, I don't think I vibe with it because it's cheeky, but I think it's more childish than cheeky.
That's that's the biggest problem with it. It came off as more serious. Like Seth didn't prep like let me think of something like what would Dwayne say, and then he says Diarrhea Dwayne. It's like if Seth would have made it a point that they
call him the Croc.
He's
a crock of shit.
Family friendly, call something. Yeah, but no, Seth's delivery made it seem like Seth was trying his best to come up with something good, and that's what he came up with. Instead of making it obvious that he's trying to play The Rock at his own game, and some childish immature. But yeah,
that's just the way it's all feeling. It's like Rock is childish. He's like serious childish, and then like Seth is like goofy childish. Like he's like a cartoon character, like all the way through. Also on Raw, too. Yeah. Also on Raw, we had Gunther against Dom, which kind of which was its own good match.
Yeah, it was a good match.
I think people really undermine Dom's ability. He's more than 100%. Just a magnet for heat. Also, congratulations for his wedding. If you have him on social media, it's pretty funny. It's pretty spicy. We might touch it. We might touch on it at the wraparound at the end of the day, at the end of this podcast. But Gunther won. And throughout the night, we did see people kind of putting their names in for potential challenges for Gunther for WrestleMania. And so just to cut to the short end, we did get the gauntlet match revealed at the end of the night for next week's Raw. Interesting that no R-Truth, no Miz.
No R-Truth, no Miz. They are keeping them, far away from that. Because they had their segment on Raw where they were all DIY. Playing video games in the back. They were playing 2K24, doing their due justice. And Miz, after being trapped in a locker room for 4 hours, it wasn't that long. It was like an hour, I think, that he was trapped in that locker room. But after he finally got out, he approached the boys from the back. He's like, guys, I'm gonna do something about the Judgment Day. We gotta go after those tag team titles. Like he just said it. No build, no extra,
No,
like pop or anything.
That's
but
what makes sense.
Kind of like well, it does. Yeah, it does. Like I guess technically the build is, everything they've been doing with R-Truth for the last couple of weeks. So to say there's no build isn't very fair. But
I think that they win because DIY will support them.
It seemed very out of left field. Is kind of what is really my point. There wasn't like it wasn't a match that they had, and then after they got like ran in on by outside interference, and then Miz is all frustrated, like we're coming after the tag titles. Like you would normally expect, especially in this Triple H era, you'd expect something to play out that way. But yeah, very. A little bit disorienting, just to seem like
it's a little bit of a whiplash because there's no build up to it. Especially because Miz's character is that more like something has to irk him. I don't know, like
exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
I can get that like being in a thing might irk him, but his presence is more like something needs to be more seen to be more like earned. So if he got stepped over on his talk show, if he got ran in on the match, because I think the logical step would be for like him and Truth to face like McDonough and Mysterio. They win, and then they can call out their shot afterwards because they beat Judgment Day essentially. Yeah. But this seems more like quick, straightforward, and we didn't even get to see like more of R-Truth's like mindset on this. So it's kind of a very interesting.
Yeah, that's what felt. Felt Rick Rush.
Because is it Miz's ploy? Is it like I guess I get that it's both their ploys to eventually get the World Tag Team Championships or the Tag Team Championships, but it's like, is Miz pushing the storyline? Is R-Truth still like? Is he willing to come afterwards with him? Is like we gotta like I need more like clarity on that because
he is.
I want R-Truth.
He totally is.
I want I guess I want like I still want goofy R-Truth until like the minute of. Maybe I think they've made a pretty good case that R-Truth kind of understands now at this point. Like they had that whole like I know they beat him down.
The Raw after Chamber. He's like you're gonna kill me. Like Miz, you were right. You're gonna kill. I think R-Truth gets it. And that whole is the tag partner on the same like page as like the good guy. They're already doing that with Cody and Seth.
That's fair.
We'll talk about that later in our SmackDown rundown, but.
So
yeah, they're on the same page for sure. So it feels like R-Truth and The Miz, they've had this planned, obviously, for at least the last month. But with this segment, it just felt like they remembered at the last minute, like, oh yeah, we got to do something with these guys.
No, that makes sense. I which is funny because I still expect there to be some comedy, even on the night of. Because
there will be.
I've even like planned that they miss night one, quote unquote, because they're in a different city. But maybe
I do like that pitch. Yeah, I remember reading that pitch.
And then we also had Nia and Becky, which is supposed to be like a run back from when Nia had beaten Becky clean, I think in December or January. But we ended with the DQ. Liv Morgan came in and attacked Nia. I know that Liv's kind of also been stating her case that she's beaten Rhea, the last person to beat Rhea. And so whether Rhea beats Becky and then goes on to Liv, or maybe we get a triple threat. I don't see it being a triple threat, but I do think that we might get like a Liv Morgan Becky Lynch match here pretty soon.
I think that's confirmed for next week.
Maybe.
I feel like that sounds like someone's gonna see. Corey's normally a guy who's got his laptop out and he's looking up the future.
I don't think they've announced much for next week except for the Gauntlet.
They did announce, they announced the Gauntlet. I'm probably thinking of something that they announced for SmackDown last night. But let's, that's everything for Raw?
Yeah, because I believe if I remember correctly, so we had Andrade, he got a win. We had Judgment Day and Imperium.
Yes.
So which is like an interesting also like side path because they've been kind of teasing something with Priest and Gunther. And we had a match here. We just ended with Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso. Doesn't really seem to be a lot going on there. That is pretty kind of expected outcome. So which probably will lead into Jey versus Jimmy.
That's that's the story they're telling. It's 3 matches now. 3 big matches that Jimmy's cost.
Yeah,
the title, the world title match, the Intercontinental title match, and now this thing with Drew, which didn't need to happen. Well, No, it needed to happen. It needed to protect Jay. We already know that Drew is dominant. We don't need to see him pick up another win. But we did need to see Jay be protected to some degree.
Yeah, so like it's hard when he's put in these positions because it's I know they want to go back to him from time to time. Jay as like a good baby face, mid card baby face. Yeah, like he did for Gunther that 1 week, and I'm sure they want to keep utilizing him in that same position. So yeah, I do think he needs to be protected. We move on to SmackDown, which was held yesterday on the 8th. We had the Logan Paul, KSI, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. I think it was just actually Randy Orton segment. So we just get Logan Paul talking a bunch of smack. He reveals the Prime logo on
wow.
on the ring. What a partnership.
Wow. That is big news. We've been hearing about this for some time now, ever since the TKO merger. We're hearing a lot of things from the UFC side of business that they want to bring a lot of things from the UFC into the WWE, one of those things being mat promotions.
Yeah.
And I could not think of a better way to introduce it than with an absolute shitheel like Logan Paul.
Exactly. Like he gets the limelight of it. He introduced one of his best friends, KSI, London's own KSI. We get Randy Orton's music plays, and then we get this beautiful, like, inevitability of the RKO where I thought KSI really sold it well, where he's like, he's right behind me, isn't he? He's right behind me. And he got planted.
He did a killer job selling that RKO.
Like, that's... and he spread him over.
If that doesn't tell you... Yeah, he spread him over the Prime logo.
And we had a bird eye view, so we got to see down, basically covering the Prime.
Get used to that camera angle.
Yeah, they like it. They like it.
They're digging it.
It's sports.
It's the elimination.
It's sports-esque.
It's a lot more real. It's the elimination chamber top-down view, so it's not nothing we haven't seen before. But
we've seen KSI also take a good splash.
He's taken a really good bump before when he was in the Prime suit at WrestleMania 39.
Was amazing.
He got jumped on by Logan Paul by accident. That was good. So that's
a Seth match.
If those two bumps, especially the RKO bump, if that doesn't give it away that KSI is gonna have a future career here, then
he'll have a match this year.
I don't know what to tell you. Expect Logan Paul and KSI to be future tag team champions.
That's so excellent, eloquently. But they can beat R-Truth and The Miz.
Yeah. Oh, that's who takes it. Hot take. You heard it here first. That's a WolfPac exclusive. Normally,
they're just mid enough after they win,
right?
That they can lose. Oh,
yeah, dude. Yeah, that's a WolfPac exclusive.
Hire me, hire us.
Normally, we'll be making you pay for the Patreon to hear that kind of content. But this is the main podcast, so you're spoiled.
You're spoiled here, and we'll mention more about all of the exclusivity on the Patreon once we get to the end of the wraparound. But
right after that, we had Randy Orton still standing in the ring after planting KSI when his good friend Kevin Owens enters the ring, preparing for a tag team match against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, picking back up from last week's heat between Orton and we don't have a tag team. Is it A-Town Down Under? Is that what we're going with here?
I think A-Town Down Under is good.
That's
but
a great name.
I think we're already seeing some cracks with A-Town.
We are already seeing some cracks. That's why I don't have an official name or theme or conjoint.
Which they have been tagging a while though. So
it's been a couple months.
It's hard because it's like I like them, and I don't know if I'm ready for a split.
Yeah.
And we're basing that off the Elimination Chamber's interaction.
Elimination Chamber.
He got stomped.
Yes.
Theory got stomped out.
Yes, he got
and
whooped.
Waller didn't do anything.
And Waller let it happen because Theory was disrespecting Australia. Yeah, they've been doing this a lot the last couple of weeks. Waller has been throwing Theory into the flames and just throwing him out of the frying pan and into the pot. So it's unfortunate that we are seeing a breakup between these guys, but it could be a big payoff. This match in particular wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
It's a good opener.
It was predictable, Orton and KO win.
Yeah, we had Paul trying to attack both afterwards. He got his brass knucks. He was gonna, get Orton. Orton stopped him, took the knucks off, almost swung, which almost led into him swinging into Owens.
Yes, yeah.
Since Logan got out of there, and they kind of amended it for the most part, and a nice visual of Orton putting his brass knucks into his own jocks. Which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, and that's big. That is big. It might seem, like a little bit confusing if you're new to watching wrestling, or maybe even if you're not new to watching wrestling and you don't understand why he did that. The idea is that Randy Orton now has them. So in any future match that Logan Paul has, wink wink WrestleMania, his title defense, Logan's not gonna have the brass knuckles unless they just don't care about that at all, which I don't buy. Everything they've done in WWE lately has mattered. So the visual,
I think everything of that, like
the visual of Orton dropping the knuckles and
I think you have a very good mindset where we might get a multi-man match because Logan is causing too much. Like
Logan's
chaos.
been stirring shit with a lot of different people.
So and I think it'll all come down to like, well, we all have the problem with you, and so like multi-man match there. So maybe somewhere soon we can get that, because last thing I want to see is KSI and Paul versus Orton and Owens.
And the U.S. champ's not on the line at all. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
No, that's too off base. I think they're doing a 6-man next week. They haven't confirmed anything, but it seems that they're building up to Logan,
because we also have people
down under against like Orton and Owens.
No, Sammy's in the gauntlet. I was gonna say Sammy doesn't have anything to do, but he's in the gauntlet.
No, it's wild right now. There's a lot of different builds for Gunther's.
And there's a lot of people that don't have anything. There's people like
multi-man match.
I don't know. If the Andre the Giant Battle Royal is gonna be like anything, it's gonna be on SmackDown. And
I hope Triple H gets rid of that.
I don't know. It's the only way to placate everyone.
No,
but it's like
you're not placating anybody
because you don't do anything with the winner.
You don't do anything with the winner, and if anything, it's kind of just like, okay, Bobby, here's your participation trophy.
It really was.
Don't be at Mania tomorrow.
It's been really awful.
If anything, like it's because
lost they dropped it. They dropped it year one when Cesaro.
It lost
and then
all of its prestige. It means nothing.
Immediately, we're actually at 10 years from that, so that's
you're right. It is. It's time to retire it.
Might want to watch that.
10 years, time to retire it.
Unless I'm talking about that WrestleMania.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sure.
I actually
2014 was WrestleMania 30. Yeah,
I remember I was a Paul
That one sucked.
Him and I watched that.
That one sucked. That's the one.
No, that's a Daniel Bryan. But everything else leading up to that, and even the Daniel Bryan send off, I thought was great. Which I actually think that the Triple H Daniel Bryan match that opened the card was the best match on that whole card. Probably one of the best.
That was that WrestleMania. Yeah, they managed to make like the worst and the best at the same time.
They had to. I felt like it kind of like pre-told once Taker lost that like there's no way you can end this with like Batista winning.
Well, they had Undertaker lose, man. That's already the lowest of the low, brother. It doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah, I know. Then you got people thinking like, did he shoot on him and everything? Like, oh my god, it's like the refs in on it. After that, we got a Bayley promo. We got a sit-down interview, actually, with her and Kayla Braxton. Basically kind of talking about her emotions with the breakup of... Well, not of her breakup with Damage Control. Basically stating that I created this group, I'll end it. So it looks like we'll get her kind of fighting everyone off. I wouldn't even be surprised if Dakota and her are on that last SmackDown before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So just kind of like as the last... Hydra.
It's too early for that, man.
I know, but and it might not have to end, dude. Which I don't think they'll have a finish.
Oh, she's not. Here's some more breaking news. Bayley's not winning at WrestleMania. Can you guys believe that?
We'll save that for the prediction. We'll save that for the WrestleMania rundown.
She's not winning,
I want
because
that
of this
so
stupid
bad.
turn. Because they're doing this. We are going to talk about the main event. I guess I'll save this for later. But
because there's also another interesting little aspect to this that I want to touch upon when we get
the
there.
women's match isn't main eventing. That means Bayley's not winning.
We got Lashley versus Karrion Kross, which ends in a no contest.
This could have been shorter, man.
I'm not feeling any of these groups. I'm
not
so sorry.
Which
sucks is I love Lashley, but everyone else is like so.
Lashley's great. Montez Ford is great, but when you put them in a tag team, like I can't focus on.
Yeah, you've already done everything with these two groups.
You've done everything. Bobby Lashley has already shined. You don't need to show off how great of a leader Bobby Lashley can be, which he's not that great of a leader because Montez and Angelo are never there.
I'm thinking that,
and when they're there, they're looking like goobers.
I'm thinking that since they won't have a Mania match, which
they definitely won't have a Mania match.
No. They will not have a Mania match, but they have enough of juice. Like, it's weird because I'll say it like this. Like, in order to save some of your other stars to be healthy for SmackDown, like they can get a big 60-minute main event match on one of the SmackDowns where they have like a 4-on-4 brawl.
Yeah.
That's fine. Whatever. Let them have it. At this point, that's what I want to see because nothing's exciting me with these two.
BFAB got involved.
That's what I'm saying. And she was involved actually a few weeks ago too. But I'm not involved with any of these two storylines. I like the idea of Karrion Kross, and I like Bobby Lashley. Yeah. So just have them brawl. Go 16 minutes, go 50 minutes, 2 commercial breaks, go into the crowd, have Montez jump off one of the stage, and I'll be satisfied with the ending because everything else was just so below mid.
Yeah,
so I think that's the only way to end it. And I don't want to see that at Mania.
No.
I want someone else to have that time.
Yeah, exactly.
So put it on a SmackDown. Have all 8 of them just go
Bobby
nuts.
missing 2 Manias in a row is crazy.
That's
Bobby missing. See, yeah, that's exactly why he needed to not miss it. Last year they should have just gone with.
Then that's the only way he gets it is that they have a blow off and he still has Mania open. But then he has no you can't put him in a feud in 2 weeks.
Just put Bobby. Just put Bobby in the multi-man U.S. Championship match.
Well, there you go. Man. There you go.
He's not going to win it, but
they are
on
SmackDown,
there.
so he can. He could have an interaction.
He won't win it, but at least he'll be there.
I also feel like they might just put Kross in then too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make it like a 6-man. Well, it should just be a ladder match, is what it should be for you.
And then you can get. That's how you get Author of the Pain on the card. That's how you get
So you get a lot of people on the card
because they can just have a skirmish for 2 minutes and then they can all screw off to the back.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Because that's where you get Grayson and Theory also come in too.
Yeah.
That's a big click. If they stick in
dissension between them, where Theory and Grayson are at the ladder, and that's how we finally get them to.
Oh, they break up there.
Yeah, because they're at the very top of the ladder, about to go for the briefcase. I want this, mate. He's like, what do you mean I want this? I'm gonna do it again. Mr. Money in the Bank twice in a row. But yeah, no, this needed to be shorter. They needed to cut this Karrion and Bobby match, especially if they were going to end it in DQ. Anything that they could have done to possibly give our main event more time would have been excellent.
Let's give a special shout out to our new. I think since our last one, we haven't had any members of the Hall of Fame. So as of right now, the updated list for the 2024 WWE Hall of Fame have Paul Heyman. Much earned, much deserved.
Yeah, we knew this was coming for a while. We thought it would be last year.
Yeah, so I think he's probably the headline.
He's the main one.
Which makes sense, basically the creator of ECW.
Yeah, they wanted Rock. They wanted Rey. They wanted Rey Mysterio to be the headliner last year. So usually they won't have anybody who's quite as big of a name. They'll have one major household name, and then they'll have a few other legends.
Which is fine. Which is where we're at right now because we have Bull Nakano, which is so. For people who don't know, Bull Nakano, she is obviously of a Japanese orient. She's a former women's world champion during their
huge inspiration to
a lot of people actually
modern day women.
I think Paige used her finisher, the spider lock.
Beth Phoenix style, large portion of her career. Her
Beth Phoenix really reminds me of her power, destruction. Except she had an arsenal that was crazy. She had a leg drop that was beautiful. She had some time in WCW where she mixed it up with some of the girls there. I think, in a time when women's wrestling wasn't seen as serious, she was always serious. She was always, a dominant force. And I think if you could have put her in today's time, she would thrive.
They let her keep the fact that they had let her keep her presentation from
she was the same
Japan.
Everywhere.
She's always the same. That's huge for back then in her time. That was kind of unheard of.
You wanted to be different.
You definitely want to be different, and it's surprising that she did get to keep that same character.
Yeah, and then U.S. Express, for those of you who might not know, is Barry Windham and the tag team of Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda. So Mike Rotunda, better known as IRS, the father of Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt. Barry Windham, member of the Four Horsemen at a time. Pretty underrated in most people's opinion. Former NWA world champ. But in terms of what they were as the U.S. Express, I have been watching a little bit of 84 to 87 Superstars lately. They were a solid tag team. They were, they had some feuds with the British Bulldogs and the Dream Team, which, if I remember correctly, was Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. They were, a very solid tag team. When we're talking about a time where characters shined more than work rate.
You're talking about a time. We're still in that time.
It's hard. It's hard because you never leave that time. There's a little bit of. I think there was a moment there where wrestling was definitely a big focus too. Probably earlier than before that, but when you're competing against the Hogans, the Savages, any other character it's a little bit more livelier than you are. They always let their work in the ring be what they were known for. They actually had the Real American theme song for a little bit from Hulk Hogan, before Hulk Hogan started like his more patriotic rise into WWF at the time. So I think it's definitely well deserved. Even if they are a tag team going in, and I know that eventually I would want their own virtues to be more highlighted. I actually can't. I might have to look it up, but I don't know if this is Barry Windham's second Hall of Fame. Just because
IRS is already in Hall of Fame, isn't it?
But that's what I'm saying through the Four Horsemen. I don't remember if he had already gone in, but I know multiple people have gone in multiple times, like Booker T, and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think these are really good choices.
Great choices. Choices. I was surprised Bull Nakano wasn't already in.
I was surprised too. I think this is a Triple H era where you're starting to see him be like, these people rocked, because he would have been there in WCW for Bull's time. So he might have had firsthand experience of like what she could really do during his time there. So I think that there's a lot of people that we might be starting to see get that like long-term shine that we haven't seen before. So there's a lot of people left that people on her own. I'm surprised that we never got her on her own. She, Barry Windham is a 2-time Hall of Fame. Will be. So he did go in with the Four Horsemen.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. I don't see any other huge names. There's rumors. I mean, there's always rumors for everything.
You're in Philly. I don't know if like maybe someone else from ECW.
No, the rumor right now, Bray Wyatt. I could see it. His father is about to be inducted. Again, is his own blood. But I mean, I don't know if they do. Like I said, 2 back-to-back names. I feel like Bray is big enough to go in as a headliner.
No, I think that would be great. I know that a lot of predictions.
And Batista's
the other one.
It's been like 4 years now since he was supposed to originally be there.
I think it's just because he's like, I don't know if I'm
declined.
Done,
Well, he declined because of the pandemic.
Yeah, of course.
Shut everything down, so he said no. But yeah, no, I don't know why he hasn't. He hasn't in recent years. That's a bit odd. I see Batista obviously being the headliner for 1 year, so I don't see it happening this year. Could happen next year. We know where WrestleMania. They don't announce WrestleMania location until
WrestleMania Day.
Yeah,
that's right. They'll announce the next day. Some other names that we have heard are William Regal, Victoria, and Tommy Dreamer.
Okay.
Tommy Dreamer is ECW, known and through. If you think of the heart of ECW, most people would think of Tommy Dreamer,
especially during that that awful 2008
Victoria.
WWE
Exactly.
Era.
Yeah, where he lasted the longest out of that like original
ECW originals.
He was he still is to this day. Victoria is she's another like Bull Nakano, where like for her time she was very impressive, and I don't think people really look at Victoria the same way that they look at like a Charlotte or a Bayley or a Sasha Banks. But I think she does deserve a lot of mentioning. She's a 2-time
very underrated.
She's a 2-time women's champ. She participated in WrestleMania. She had some noticeable feuds. I think she had the match with Molly Holly where Molly Holly got shaved at WrestleMania. So I think that was her. But I think the other name I said was William Regal, which I don't think anyone would ever disagree with. I think Regal is more deserving of it. His son is now the new Heritage champion down in NXT, Charlie Dempsey.
Noam Dar's been dethroned, yeah.
So I think there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of...
had it before, Noam Dar? Noam Dar had it. Or was it Nathan Frazier?
So
I thought Nathan Frazier had the Heritage Cup.
Frazier had it, and then Noam won it back.
Noam again. Oh,
and then now it's Dempsey.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
very nice. So moving on from Hall of Fame, we'll get back to SmackDown here.
We had and Yim.
Tiffany Stratton and Mia Yim, decisive victory for Stratton. She has once again done the most intense back elbow I have ever seen. She does her little gymnast flips.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with,
No, it's part of her gymnast background.
But yes, she's killing it.
Yeah.
She can't be stopped. Her
I
momentum
think
is
the crowd
at
is
100 miles per
the
hour.
crowd
right
is
now.
behind her. They don't want to boo her. Her has a great moonsault.
The prettiest ever.
So, and I think she's the future. She's the future.
Yeah.
And I think that people are going to back her up until they don't want to. And even then, and I hope that's at a point where that's because of her work and not because of anything she does. But
you think they're building Stratton up so she can
for
do
next year.
So
year.
next year is.
So she'll
is
be in a lot of
year.
big matches. I expect her to be in Money in the Bank. I expect her to be at Survivor Series.
Are we getting Stratton and Bianca this year at Mania?
No, I think this year.
I don't think it's Bianca and Jade. It's definitely not.
Well,
Bianca
because actually, ironically,
it's too early for Bianca and Jade.
We get a little on later. I think we have a little backstage segment with Bianca and Naomi, where Naomi is feeling bad for Bayley.
Yeah.
But then we're starting to see a little, maybe hints of a Bianca heel turn.
Yeah, we're getting some Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, where she's like, good, or like,
So she deserves this. You have to understand that.
These people are bringing it upon themselves. So that's very Drew-like, hey, I'm right, but like, you people just don't want me to be right.
Yeah, don't feel bad.
So I get that whole energy from it. It's kind of, I think it's and I actually did state this from Elimination Chamber, as I thought that they were going to have a WrestleMania match, and I still think they might, but I was going to have it stem from Elimination Chamber. This seems to stem from this own interaction here. So,
you think Naomi Bianca?
I think Naomi Bianca could go there.
I like that too, because I'd rather see Tiffany versus Jade Cargill.
So would I.
Or Jade Cargill.
So would
Tiffany. And it needs to be for a damn mid-card title.
I know.
Give the women another singles title, please.
Yeah,
please.
We need a mid-card title because we have so much talent. I think we've done a good enough job with the titles that they all mean something. They're all crazy over.
Yes, all of them.
Even with the Kabuki Warriors, they're it's a great champion for those tag team divisions. We need a mid-card title. We need titles that are weekly based or more common based than the other ones. If we're only going to defend the world titles at pay-per-views, we still need something to bring in, a competitive edge. Mm-hmm. So if that's their own intercontinental title, if that's a television championship, if that's something, whatever you want to name it that makes sense. Like I don't want to don't call it the featherweight or some crap like that. Make it make sense.
Flyweight.
Or I guess you've already had all these things even in companies where it's like the continental
cruiserweight. Honestly, you can make that the thing.
I mean,
a lot of people don't like the idea that the women's belt needs to be like an exact 1-for-1 of what the men already have, but we had that for 10 years.
Exactly.
We had a red Raw women's champ. We had a blue. It was fine.
It was the Divas Championship.
That was the only one. Yeah. The Divas Championship was the only one that the women ever had that there wasn't a male equivalent. But that's also because the Divas Championship sucked.
No, absolutely. It sucks because there are certain females who that is the championship that they held. That they're not the world women's champion. They were the Divas champion, and it's there's no 1-for-1. I don't feel like it's a 1-for-1 correlation of world champion, Divas champion. Is Alicia Fox, who's a one-time Divas champion, on the same reign as the same mountaintop as Rhea? No, I don't think so. And that's no shading Alicia Fox. I think she's a great performer back then, but I don't think the Divas Championship means as much as what it means now.
No, definitely
not.
Even
when Nikki had it for her long reign. I think the only time it really mattered, and might be a few times, but
just look at the current women's belts. Rhea's title means more than Io's, and Io's is technically the one that's a cut above. Because they're both world titles, but there's one of them's called the WWE title and the other one's called the heavyweight. So it's
the
women's world heavyweight, and then there's the women's WWE championship. If we know anything about the past, the WWE championship is allegedly supposed to have more prestige, but Rhea's looking like the dominant champ out of those two.
And she is. She
definitely is. Yeah. If you told me we're having a unification match between those
it's
belts,
all Rhea.
and
it's all Rhea.
Will they? Oh my goodness! As an aside, just real quick, do you think they'll ever do that? Do you think they'll ever give Rhea
once
two
they're
belts?
tired? If they get rid of if they have another title that they can have as a singles title, maybe.
You don't think it'd be 2 world belts?
I don't think it'd be 2 world belts.
They did that for Becky, and if Rhea can beat Becky, I mean, Rhea can beat Rhea
no,
2 belts.
And there's no reason she shouldn't be.
Right.
And whether they're unified or they're whole sparingly, if each one's its own individual one, just like how Becky lost one but retained the other one up.
Yeah.
So
Becky went from having no belts, didn't she, to winning them both? Was that what it was?
Because
it wasn't like
she had the
Ronda. She won the Rumble. Charlotte was like the SmackDown champ,
and Ronda was Raw.
Ronda was the Raw champ.
And then the next pay-per-view, she lost one. I think she lost it back to Charlotte, and then she kept
won
the
both
Raw.
Of them, yeah.
So after that, coming back from the side, Tiffany Stratton's a star. That's what we're trying to get from here. Tiffany Stratton's a star. We had an AJ Styles promo where he basically just doesn't like the limelight that LA Knight's been kind of having, kind of engrossing on his own territory or so, per se, which we got into this funny little aside where LA...
Most amazing LA Knight promo, if you could call it a promo ever. So this... I love the way that Triple H has been doing segues from one part of his show to another part of his show to make it all feel nice and interconnected. They did this really cool visual where it panned away from AJ's promo, and you could see that it was LA Knight sitting down, not in a really awkward way where they usually have people watching the television in WWE, where it's like that. Yeah, they make fun of that all the time over in AEW.
Oh my God, they don't even do it anymore.
I know. It's just so not funny that they hardly even do it. But it was very organic. It looked very natural. Knight gets up from his chair after watching AJ's promo, and he's getting incensed. He's getting furious just thinking about AJ is building up to all this anger. So LA Knight takes the chair and just smashes the television in several times, denouncing AJ Styles.
He told him to meet him next week, so we'll get an interaction.
We're finally getting a confrontation between the two of them. It seems pretty clear that we're getting LA Knight versus AJ Styles at Mania. Personally, they should just throw that into the U.S. scene.
That's the other one too, because
give us an 8-man ladder match.
Yeah,
replace
that. I mean that not ironically, and I think I don't.
You got to replace the Money in the Bank feel.
I do think that I do like single matches that don't have a title. I do like them. They have to
when the rivalry's good enough.
When the rivalry's good enough. But I also want a spectacle of a match. I do want a multi-man match. So if I feel like Gunther's going to have the singles match, like Logan should have the chaotic, frenetic match.
Gunther should have that singles match. Yeah. He's been dominating every single competitor.
And he should lose in a one-on-one match.
And when he does eventually, just like Roman. Like, you can't have these two historical championship reigns be tarnished by some other guy in the match getting pinned. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
So to put Gunther in a multi-match is just incorrect. You definitely want to do it for United States title, and I think you want to do it in a ladder match to replace that Money in the Bank feel that we had, 10 years ago, before Money in the Bank was its own pay-per-view. So I think that'd be a great replacement. A lot of people, AJ Styles, LA Knight, namely, mostly because people do want to see LA Knight win, and if LA Knight has to climb the ladder to take the U.S. championship rather than beating Logan Paul,
if it's the opener of a card, I think it's fine.
It's fine. Opener of a card. It's perfect. What a banger opener.
Yeah, and then you can run back LA Knight, Logan Paul at the next pay-per-view, because they're actually doing the following pay-per-views in France. So if it's in a different market, it should feel bigger. Mm-hmm. So like Backlash last year in Puerto Rico. So I think that they should kind of give it the same type of gravitas. So if it's in London, if it's in Europe, you have KSI, who's from.
You know who they love in France? Baron Corbin.
They do love him.
They love Baron Corbin over in France. Yeah, he'll get huge raucous cheers.
Fourth, we got another match. We got a match here of Dragon Lee and Angel Garza, which is kind of setting up this fact that Dragon Lee is kind of on his own. Pretty good match. These two work really well with each other. And basically, we had Lee winning with countering a powerbomb into a Hurricanrana.
It was a very sudden roll-up finish kind of deal. It wasn't a roll-up, like Dragon Lee did hit a move, but the way that kind of it finished. It was somewhat abrupt. You can tell Angel still had some gas left in them. They could have gone longer. Whether they were cut short or time short or not is remains to be seen. But we did have the rest of Legado del Fantasma.
They ganged up on Lee.
They did gang up on Dragon Lee. You did say they're highlighting how alone he is here. They did mention that
Ray will be coming back next week.
LWO simply was not in the building.
Correct.
They wanted to make sure it was known that Dragon Lee does have some friends backstage, and I'm so glad they addressed this because this has been a big problem for baby faces the last few months, over the last year, really. I mean, ever since Cody Rhodes has been with this whole bloodline story. Anytime like a face over on Raw gets like their butt kicked, no one's there to help them. It's like, does this guy have any friends?
Yeah,
that's
like, how it
at all.
That's how it feels a lot of the times. It's like
sometimes,
which is like the issue on AEW where like when someone gets attacked, there's every match someone's always coming out. So you got to find a middle ground.
Like sometimes Jay would come out, and sometimes Sammy would come out. Cody will come out for like anybody, but
Cody would come out for anybody.
But there are like there were plenty of times. Maybe it was like SmackDown that I'm thinking of because Cody's not on SmackDown. All the good guys are over on Raw. Tonight. And like anytime someone gets beat down, like there's no one there to save him, and it's the craziest thing. So props to them for mentioning that the only reason Lee didn't have anyone to have at his back is
right.
Or they weren't there.
At least make it make sense. Yeah, make it make sense that the beatdown's warranted. We had a Damage Control promo where EO mentions that it's EO's era. It always has been.
Dakota, but before they got to that, Dakota started off by saying, oh, "Bailey, you're so stupid. Can't you see that I've been the brains behind this the whole time?"
Exactly. Right.
And then they all start talking in Japanese, and EO's like, "It's EO's era," and it's like, okay, well, is it EO's era or is Dakota Kai like the brains behind this? Can both those things can coexist? But I'm kind of getting the vibe that you're sowing the seeds of like dissension between them eventually.
I think it's Dakota's. I think Dakota wants to be the new Bailey mindset
100%.
And physically. So, I can create this group. I can maintain this group. I can run this group, and
we can take you down.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they're still calling themselves Damage Control. So obviously they're keeping themselves with that name. And
how can we see her get over? Because
who?
I think me and Corey, me and Corey had theorized like it's going to be a Dakota face turn because this is how you're going to help Dakota get over with the audience. Is she's going to align with the babyface Bailey? Could we see the same
Damage
thing?
Control kicks her out.
You think? Yeah. So I like that too. It could be the same exact thing. It's
Damage
era.
Control kicks him out. Dakota's like, I don't like you, Bailey, but like we just have to stop Damage Control. Here's Julia.
It's the bloodline all over. Here's Julia.
3-on-3.
Yeah. No. Julia's joining Damage Control.
I know. Well, then they would need
Black
partners.
Lotus 2.0.
They'll need some partners eventually.
Tegan Knox for Dakota Kai. And once Dakota's over, they probably try and inch Tegan in.
I don't know if they finished anything that they've done with her and Natalia because
no, they had. Well,
they haven't even.
So
started
they had
anything.
this really
that battle royal.
I think
moment.
we totally like there was that little segment on Raw, I think just this week where they were talking like several women's tag teams. I think it was like Candice and Indy, Zoe and Baszler. And then it was Maxine and Ivy Nile. And
Tegan and Natalia.
And all four teams, like they all seemed like they couldn't like not get along like with like each other, but like within their own teams they couldn't get along. Like I think the only ones I think who like were relatively on the same page was like Baszler and Stark. I think they had a match that night and they won. But there was like Maxine. Ivy was going to say something, and Maxine, like, cut her off. She's like, no, I got this. And then Ivy's kind of like,
Interesting.
Like, huh? So it seems like you got 4 different female tag teams, and there's dissension between, like, all of them, which is really, really weird. I don't know if they're trying to hint that they're going to disband, like, the women's tag team division for now, like they did in NXT, which would be weird, because you're trying to put Damage Control over. But...
And then there are other tag teams that do coexist, like Alba Fire and
Isla Dawn, and they get no screen time ever. They teased us 8 months ago, no 7, back in September.
Yeah, all those promos.
Back in September when they did SmackDown in Arizona,
Yes, that's like I think one of the first promos we had seen.
They did the Unholy Union promo where they're like, it seems like the women's tag team championships are cursed. I wonder who would do such a thing. Well, yeah, I want to know too, because I thought it was you guys, but apparently it's nobody, because that storyline has been dropped, and you have done nothing with it. Like, I hate that.
This leads us into a grand finale of Roman and Rock.
The juice. The absolute
We got
juice.
the Bloodline, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins segment. So, I mean, where do you even want to start with this? You have the ending, which just capped off the entire SmackDown. We have Seth and Rock going after each other.
Just start from the beginning, man. Like, I mean, The Rock came out to an electrifying, thunderous, I should say, new entrance.
Crazy.
They slowed down his theme song. I feel like it's not the exact same as his Hollywood theme from the 2000s, but it's slowed down. It's a bit more I wouldn't say menacing, but it's more droney, more boss-like. And he gets in the ring and he says nothing. The Rock gets in the ring, says absolutely nothing. He smiles at the audience cheering for him. And Roman picks up the mic. Roman speaks first. He's the tribal chief, and he tells Texas to acknowledge us, not just Roman, everybody in the bloodline,
right.
the whole shebang. And before we can even get some more substance out of this, because everyone is waiting with bated breath, instead we get Kingdom, American Nightmare. Cody Rhodes' theme starts playing. And we're full speed ahead. Seth Rollins comes out with them. They come in from the audience. They came in from the crowd. So very Shield-esque. I think their writing is all over the wall. Seth wants to be Cody's shield, specifically his shield. They came out with a Shield entrance through the crowd just to mess with Roman. Fantastic character work there. And yeah, what did...
I think it's as close as to the Daniel Bryan as you're going to get, where Daniel Bryan had the yes movement, and this is like Cody's moment in the crowd.
Also Cody's moment of the crowd, yeah. There's
parallels.
It's a double entendre, so to speak.
I do... So basically, we get Cody cuts a promo, Rock cuts him off, basically stating that we'll have this tag team match. You just got to understand something. There's going to be some steps here. If you win somehow... we won't be in night 2. We just won't be there. Bloodline will be gone. Won't have to worry about it. Which, you gotta read the words all the way through, because you gotta think of shenanigans in both cases.
The fine print, yeah.
Yeah. So fine, the Bloodline won't be there night 2.
And he did reiterate, like The Rock did repeat himself from last week, but he kind of like laid down the groundwork a bit more.
Right.
A bit more clear. What his Bloodline rules mean? Well, it means all bets are off.
Exactly. Like, it'll just be whatever I dictate it to be, because he stated that when we win, it'll be Bloodline rules. You're not walking out that world championship. Alluding to Seth won't walk out with his championship. Kind of just stating that, like, this will just be our night if we win. It'll be like both of our nights, obviously. So, which kind of leads into, some huge implications. Does Rock win and we get an even bigger mountain for Cody to come back? Does Cody win? And this is Cody wins here, but Cody doesn't win night 2. So we have that pin, but not the end result. So, we get all these things. Do we get Cody winning and a new member of the Bloodline appears on night 2 because of the fine printing of the word? We're only subjugated to this iteration of the Bloodline not being there. That doesn't mean that someone else can't be there because they're not Bloodline. There's a lot of theories here.
Corey, I'll go ahead and speak on behalf of Corey because he's not here to do so. But we were talking about, the one that The Rock was holding up. Does this mean anything? Does it mean anything at all? Because, last week in Arizona when he held it up, he started to tuck it away, and you could see Heyman, eyeing up The Rock like he's not sure. So Corey's theory is the reason why he held up, it's a gun for the Bullet Club. Tama Tonga's on the way.
Gun's done.
That'd be cool, I suppose, just to have, Tama Tonga here, to have him like immediately be involved in the Bloodline, and we're gonna skip over NXT. Everything with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows now being in NXT. I mean, I don't know about that. That's a lot. I would rather, I've been singing the praises of Jacob Fatu and Zilla. I want to see them come over because they're so menacing. They look like savages.
I mean, it needs to be like a legit bloodline.
Yeah, and it needs to be like big. It needs to be
6
big.
people. It needs to be crazy.
Lot.
It needs to be like overwhelming all the time.
Just 10 guys. Like
seriously.
Honestly, man. Yeah, so I
this is the only match that's confirmed for night 1 as of right now, obviously.
Night 1, because they did confirm Seth Rollins and Drew for night 2 as a co-main event. Let's talk a little bit more about WrestleMania night 1 now we've closed out the show. SmackDown closes out with a smack.
Yeah, okay, so that's what we get. After cutting that promo, he basically walks up to Cody, basically stating that Cody's entire family is a success, aside from Cody,
who came 20 years later.
Yeah,
Cody's 20 years younger than his siblings.
Which I don't know. You start your own company. You're a former, multiple-time mid-card champ. I don't think you're not a success.
So he didn't say he's not a success. He just said that he's a mistake.
Well, it's even better.
Of course, this warrants
as we're ending the show.
Will Smith moment.
We get a slap.
We get Cody smacking The Rock back, and this is where I think it was obvious that time got cut. There should have been, a bit longer of a stare down between the two of them. But instead, they did the classic WCW, where they just blacked out the screen slowly. Or faded out, sorry. They faded the screen out, leaving out a huge cliffhanger, which was cool. At WCW used to do that back in the day, but it felt disorienting seeing it from WWE, especially when we're used to seeing
whiplash. It's a mood whiplash because you're like, we want more.
Yeah, I want to see more right now, and it's like, wait, now you're going to cut to like commercial break? But it's even worse than that because now that it's the end of the show. Now you got to wait until like maybe Raw, but most likely until SmackDown next week to know what happens. So yeah, huge note to end on there for SmackDown. We definitely are going to get Cody versus Rock 1-on-1 at some point. Who knows when? Maybe Backlash. People think that Rock will be Cody's first title defense. I don't think Cody's winning the belt, so
I don't know. I could see him being Seth title defense. I could even see that.
A Rock being Seth's title defense,
just to kind of
like Seth beats Drew this year.
I think he does.
Oh wow,
I think he does.
That'd be crazy.
It's either Seth wins. I think Seth wins in both these scenarios, but Seth wins and The Rock is one of his challengers, or Seth wins and then he loses to Damian Priest.
Well, I'm thinking.
I don't see Damian
since we're already on the topic here for night 1, it's a good segue. It's a Triple H segue right there. I think for this night 1 thing, we've got the tag match.
Yeah. Big event.
I'm gonna call my shot here. It's Cody pitting Roman. We're gonna get that big pop. Everyone's excited. All the Cody crybabies are,
right,
shitting their pants over the visual. They're not gonna be there, man. The Bloodline's not gonna be there night 2. So, if it can't be the Bloodline there for night 2, is it just Seth turning? And I think that's what it is. Writing's on the wall. Seth wants to be Cody's shield. He turned on the shield. I think that's there. I've heard another great pitch. The Bloodline helps Drew beat Seth. And so Drew comes in to interfere in night 2. And Drew just claymores Cody's head off.
Yeah, because I think the stipulation is that Bloodline is only non-permitted to be in Cody's.
Exactly. No Bloodline. So that means we could get a Seth turn, and that means we could get, Bloodline helps Drew because Bloodline hates Seth, so
right.
They would help Drew beat him, and I rub your back, rub mine. Drew comes out.
That'd be crazy. Drew Claymore kicks at the end of WrestleMania.
Crazy heat.
And then
crazy heat.
It's The Rock, Roman, and Drew,
and you can't
and all the belts.
No, so you wouldn't see. Like you wouldn't I know
because
Drew hates Roman at the end of the day. He's still mad. That's like the root cause. Yeah. So you wouldn't see like some big unity. There wouldn't be this Drew joins the Bloodline. None of that. But it's a one-time deal. Scratch your back. I We got you the world title at Mania like you always wanted.
Drew's got to end the card somewhere with his own belt. So maybe if he's on stage, or Roman and them are on stage, and then like Drew could be in the crowd like with his belt, like, yeah, I just fucked with you. I do. If you're gonna implicate Drew on the finality, I at least want Drew to still have his own moment where like these are the two. Well, so
that's how you make sure Drew can still get his like technically his real moment, because him winning a world title at Mania is what he wants, but like he can't do that as a heel. Like that's so disorienting. Like the entire story behind Drew McIntyre is he wants his feel good moment at Mania.
Right.
So for him to do that as a heel is so weird. So how can you make that work? Drew had outside interference. He didn't do it on his own. Like he's been talking this big game. Like Drew he's
a hypocrite.
You'd be a hypocrite. Yeah. I
didn't see them in the match.
I'm throwing away. Like Drew has decided he's throwing away all of his dignity so he can get a win at any cost on his own. Because he's tired of the excuses. Every time he's lost to outside interference. So if you're going to have him win, make him a hypocrite. He wins to outside interference. He's just as bad as the Bloodline.
That's actually a very fair point. I can't disagree with that. That's really hard because I do want Drew to win in some aspect. Mm-hmm. I do want him to have this moment. If he does that, he's just a heel for that much longer.
Well, it's like, who the hell is going to take it off of Seth at this point, man? Like
Damian.
You've built.
Damian's the only other person that I can think.
Nobody wants Damian as a champion anymore, man. It's crazy. The world has turned. I every time I pull up Twitter, it's just like, there's no way that this guy is world championship
this
material.
Sidetracked him.
It's completely sidetracked him.
It's completely sidetracked him, and I don't know if obviously The Rock's engagement even more has sidetracked the idea of Damian, where if he was a thought before, he's less of a thought. Like, there's no way that you're gonna, like, Cody wins, and then the very last thing we see is a boom, like the Money in the Bank,
Damian
south of heaven, and that's night 2 ending, and he's there. It's Damian. Crazy.
Man, I don't know.
That would give away for Roman to leave for a month or two, because it would just be Cody and Damian, and then Roman could be like, I had to sit on this, I needed to sit on this. Because I don't know if you have.
If you're gonna give anybody the belt,
away,
right? Like if you're gonna give anybody the belt just to have it be stripped from them within like seconds, it's just Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's the perfect like underdog story. Like, yes, finally, man, you finally did it. This is your first world title. You beat, I don't know, Seth or Drew or whoever he's got to beat for it.
Probably beat Drew.
And then Priest's music instantly hits, and Damian Priest comes out and he strips it right off of Sami immediately. I mean, if anyone is going to be in that position, it's Sami Zayn.
To Sami, to Damian.
Seth to McIntyre. Yeah, I mean, Sami beating McIntyre is the play.
Are they still on a time? Are they still on a time for Money in the Bank? Because if they're going like how they used to go, he only has like 3 months left.
So if we get like Drew versus Sami at Backlash, but yeah, Drew losing the belt like that quick would be insane. For one, like that's its own problem.
Yeah,
that's what
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is if this Rock thing is messed up a lot of things. But I know that like the original plan was CM Punk, Seth.
Sure. Yeah.
So and Drew, I don't know where Drew was. It might have been Drew and Sami at WrestleMania. I think it might have been the other plan.
Oh God, what could it have been? Was it going to be a triple threat? Drew, Seth, Punk?
It wasn't. It wouldn't. Like, maybe.
No. Yeah. No.
I don't know. I don't know if you want
Drew versus Gunther. Like.
No, he's not a face unless they turn Gunther into a face.
You're right. Yeah, I don't know what they could have done with Drew at this point.
If CM Punk hadn't gotten injured, that's for sure.
Wow, that's tough.
Because I think there's a good point. There's a good argument that Drew could have been CM Punk's first challenger if he would have won the belt. But we're not there, so like it's kind of hard to see what that line looks like. But
so moving on here in night 1, we have Io Sky versus Bayley, the WWE Women's Championship match.
Yeah, this is the Women's Championship.
Which I did spoil already. Io's going to retain there.
I want her so bad, and these are 2 of like my 3 favorite women's wrestlers, and it's just so hard because
Mm-hmm.
I think that Io is such a different like women's champion to WWE, and I don't think they utilize her so well.
And
like
they need to make that.
Like, where's where's Io's Japan show? Where's Io's like anything? Like, I get like Rhea in Australia, like whatever, cool. It kind of just worked itself out.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Puerto Rico,
yeah,
Io already had her show.
That was a really good match. Oh man, her match with Bianca was amazing. And actually, that's I remember that because she was crazy over.
Huge over.
So it's like everywhere but America is Io over.
No, seriously, yeah. Yeah, so
I do want Io to win though. That's my final.
She needs to win. They need to make that women's championship. They've done it successfully for Rhea's belt. Now they need to do it for Io's belt, and they need to make that. It needs to look strong. She needs to hold it for a really long time. And if she has to break a record to do that, so be it. I don't think records.
Think there's any I think
there's not even really any records for the women's title.
I think this belt is.
I'm pretty sure like Rhea Ripley is like the longest reigning women's champion of all freaking time.
It's from 2016.
2016. Who was it? Becky, Ronda.
So for the belt
Charlotte.
that Io is currently having, the original. So here are the names that it had. At one point, it was known as. Like the WWE Raw's Women's Championship. Yeah. Now it's just known as the Women's Championship, the WWE's Women's Championship.
Who had it? Ronda?
Charlotte? As the longest?
Oh, if it was 2016, then it was probably like
So it's from 2016 to now, and I think I have total combined reigns.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Io right now is 209 with one title reign.
Sure.
Ronda had it for 232.
Sure.
In one title reign.
Rhea's already held it longer than that.
And then Becky has the longest combined, which is at 559.
That doesn't count.
I know. So I don't know what their individual ones are. Well, so they're not showing up individual because they do show up number of reigns.
Sure.
And the only one I can see is Ronda, who has one.
Well, Rhea's holding it until Mania.
Yeah,
she's definitely gonna defend it. She's definitely gonna retain it. So Rhea with 365 days, longest reigning women's champion in history.
No,
right?
Not in history.
Not in history since 2016, at least.
Since 2016, because you're gonna forget.
So what about the women's
Bella.
Championship? So Nikki Bella with the women.
In the Divas Championship.
With the Divas. All right.
I know.
How long was it? How long was that?
4 something, because she was trying to.
She
was trying to beat AJ Styles record or AJ Lee's record.
Yeah, AJ Lee. Oh, AJ Lee. Yeah. AJ Lee held it forever. Well, I think Rhea Ripley's on the fast track to be the longest reigning ever. I could easily see her holding it for another year or 2. She'd have to hold it for 2 years to be the longest reigning. But they need to give Io that opportunity as well. They need to give Io a nice, long, lengthy reign and take some heads off in the process. And Bayley is one of those big names. Bayley will have her moment. Don't worry. But the fact that she's not in the main event for night 1 kind of tells me everything I need to know.
Well, yeah, it's hard. How can you put them in the main event night 1? There's no way you're gonna usurp The Rock for sure.
I'm so mad at you for that, by the way. Like. So on the last episode of the podcast, we were talking about this with Corey.
Because we were like, the tag team's gonna happen.
Yeah, Joel you're like, man, this is gonna happen. He's like, they're gonna put Io and Bayley instead of the tag match. Like that's not happening, dude. And now it's happening. So I got egg on my face. But so does Bayley. And now we know why Bayley has not been included on any of the Mania 40 promotional posters until I think last week they finally put her on one.
I think once they've confirmed where they're going with The Rock's direction, they're able to state that like, all right, Bayley, you're probably gonna be like the semi-main of night 1. If you're putting both world titles on night 2, and
she's co-main eventing, I guess. Like
I don't know, because then if you're putting, what are you doing? Putting both men's title matches night 2 at this point, and both women's world title matches on night 1.
I don't know. I'm gonna try and keep some logic. I'll keep some logic out of this particular match because I tried putting logic last year into Edge versus Finn Balor.
Right.
Where Finn Balor should have won that Hell in a Cell match. But then they decided to go for the feel-good moment and have Edge win. And, everybody in the audience is cheering and going crazy. And, I was
But what does that do?
What does that do? Well, it doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
It's cool to hear, Edge's theme song at Mania. That's one thing. And it's a cool feel-good moment that maybe, like, Vince McMahon would have booked. But we... Like,
no,
come on.
Exactly.
Like, come on. So... And it's tough. Like maybe logically Bayley should win. Maybe logically it should be her. It should just be the feel good moment where she does it and she wins. But for me personally, logically, you got to have Io look like a star.
No, Io's got to be the star.
If this is Bayley's
gotta...
Cody moment, so be it. Let this be Bayley's Cody moment where she loses the big one where everybody thinks she should have won. I don't know. Bayley wins it at SummerSlam. Bayley doesn't have to win. I think
Bayley could win the Money in the Bank, and
wow,
and
okay,
call it out.
Okay,
and have it be like, you remember how you won with Money in the Bank, and I helped you, because that's how it happened. She's the one who whacked everyone, and then basically told Io, cash now.
That's right. So
well, we could have a full circle moment where Bayley's like, how would you like it being used on you? But I'm babyface Bayley, so like I'm telling you ahead of time. Okay. I'm using this title belt or this championship cost on you.
So I'd be down with that if I wasn't already certain. Oh, by the way, one more thing. The stipulation we forgot to mention for SmackDown. If Cody Rhodes loses to Roman Reigns, not the tag match. If Cody Rhodes loses to Roman Reigns night 2, Cody is never allowed to challenge for that belt ever again. So
it's AEW.
Yes, it's AEW. It's his AEW thing, except this isn't Cody himself saying this. This is The Rock making the decision for him, which is the only time that makes sense, by the way. Made no sense for Cody to cut himself off from that in AEW. But so how can we have Cody lose and still finish the story? You got to contractually abide by the Money in the Bank. You have to. So, Cody's going to pin Roman night 1 in the tag match. Everyone's going to lose their mind. Night 2, we'll see a turn of some sorts, whether it's Rollins, whether it's, Tama Tonga comes in. Cody's never going to be allowed to challenge. Everyone's going to be mad. If you thought people were mad last year, you're ready to lose your minds this year because it's going to be crazy. I wish that I could go to Philly, man. I'm so confident. Oh, by the way, Orlando wants to double down on his Cody Roman bet.
Okay.
We did $5 last year, and
that's
and
right.
Me, Corey, and Christian all ended up being right. So he wants to double down. He wants to do $10 this year. Yeah. So if I could just be there, like it's Christmas, like a kid Christmas, seeing Cody lose in person, and the city gets burned down because it's Philly. And then
you said that, and a fire truck just drove by.
I love it. Predicted. Spoiler. So how is Cody Rhodes ever going to possibly finish the story? The Rock has to abide by the Money in the Bank contract.
There's something he can't do at that point. It's contract obligated that he.
I'm cooking. I was cooking. I told you guys this last week, 2 weeks ago in the last episode, that this needs to happen. Cody needs to win the Money in the Bank. $1 million suits with a $1 million briefcase, and he pulls the John Cena. Roman Reigns, I'm challenging you. WrestleMania 41 or SummerSlam. It should be SummerSlam because WrestleMania 41 next year needs to be Rock and Roman. Yeah. Sooner rather than later. Or maybe not later. Rock's a long gamer. We could see.
He could be trolling. He could be, he doesn't have to be there for some time. He's like, I had to take one of my Rock vacations. Joe Brownie's Now
that he's a heel, I want him to mention that. I want him to go away for a while.
I want him to go to like a summer house in like Vienna and be like, I'm here at one of my 17 houses.
Yeah, it's a house show. Get it?
Yeah.
That'd be great stuff.
The last piece of this, we kind of mentioned these other matches. So we also have Rhea and Becky, which I think Rhea gets the win.
Yeah, Rhea just gets it.
I think Liv.
Rhea just gets it clean.
I think Liv is the person that needs to dethrone.
Well, technically this isn't confirmed. We know we're getting Rhea and Becky, but they've been doing far too much teasing. I know Corey loves it. It's his team captain. It's his
favorite.
His crush.
Superstar. Yeah.
Liv Morgan potentially being inserted into this match and making it a triple threat. Do not do this.
I don't like it because she was already in the match for the contendership.
Unless you're gonna, right? Yeah, if you're gonna involve Liv Morgan,
and she didn't get screwed out. She just lost.
If you're gonna involve Liv Morgan in any way, shape, or form, just have her lose one to Rhea Ripley at Backlash, and they did confirm it, by the way. We are getting Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch on Monday next week.
So there you go. That makes sense.
Where I'm sure
maybe you get Liv and Nia at Mania, and Liv beats Nia to set up the I beat a monster on my way to
It's
Rhea.
a goddamn fatal 4-way.
No,
I could see it, dude. No, I could see it.
Okay, the more you talked about it, the worse it got.
Yeah, dude, because it could really happen if you're not going to do some multi-band match. Like, I think at least one of the world title
Then Rhea's
matches.
gonna pin all three of them. It's gonna be an elimination.
I hope so. I
match
hope she
with
stacks them. Yeah, I hope Rhea stacks Liv.
stacks Becky and puts Rhea or Nia on top of
Or
her.
it'd be Nia on the bottom, I think. 'Cause
Yeah.
you'd killed Becky and Liv. I think at least one of those world title matches will be a multi-women's match.
Not the Bailey Io. That one's gotta stay single.
Yeah, it's definitely not Bailey Io. It's definitely not Cody Rhodes. They're hinting at Sammy and Gunther, so I think the whole Sammy, Drew, Seth triple threat that's done. Like that fantasy's
no exactly.
disintegrated.
Well, speaking on Gunther,
We have Gunther versus to be determined. I think we
is
can
the front runner
surmise.
Sammy?
I think it's just Sami Zayn. We've got the gauntlet next. We've got the gauntlet next
On Monday.
week. Sami Zayn being heavily teased as the underdog. The only other person it could potentially be is Chad Gable because it just means more to him.
That's my underdog pick.
It's weak, dude.
No, I know.
It's so weak.
And I know.
Like,
and I think those two might be the final guys.
I think just judging by Gable's delivery and Gable's demeanor, he knows he's not going to win. Like he seems over it, you know. He seems like when he's talking,
But there's
like,
no emotion
not-
as there
yeah.
was when he was doing
it
the run.
just means more. Yeah, as when he was doing the run, which begs the question: was he going to win it, and they changed it last minute? Because Jey Uso apparently was supposed to win it, like the day of, and then like an hour before showtime, they're like,
He scratched
they
it.
had a McMahon moment, and they're like, no, and so he retained.
I do think Sammy's the front runner. I would love to see Gable, and I don't think anyone else really piques any interest or makes any sense. I know that these are people that, in theory, Gunther has gone through. I know he's gone through. Ricochet, Bronson Reed, JD McDonough, and then is it Shinsuke?
People.
Is the other guy?
Shinsuke, yeah.
Yeah. So like, these are people he's beaten, but the only one that makes sense is Sammy.
As of right now, yeah.
As of right now.
As of right now, when it comes to people who they're teasing, Sammy's the only person who makes sense. He'd be a great pick, great underdog moment for him. It's not the world title. He's won the Intercontinental belt before.
Yeah.
But it's a big moment to beat Gunther. Like it's more about beating Gunther at this point than it is about
Which I don't think he would though.
winning a belt.
I think Gunther would retain over Sammy. Which is weird because
I believe that as well.
I think Gunther retains over Sammy, but if it's Gable,
I don't even want to see Gable win it at this point.
I want Gable to have one WrestleMania match.
Gable should have Gable deserves
A singles match.
so much. But when you look at the context where Gable lost like 5 times against Gunther, Gable's blaming Gunther for his own loss. Like, yeah, like of course, like, yeah, that's the guy that you had to face, and only one of you is gonna win. But you're saying that he's the one who let your kids down? Like, he didn't even really like talk shit about your kids. Like, he didn't.
No,
he didn't
he
have
just
like
beat you.
He just beat you
in front of your kids.
in front of your kids. So that's your fault, man. Yeah, so I don't want to see Gable after losing it to him 5 times. It's
Good
kind
thing
of
for world champion.
it's kind of like I really don't care for Seth and Cody. Like, I know it'll be a good match, but it's like, come on.
Seth and Cody.
Seth, you have nothing. Like, Seth, you've lost 3 times to this guy. Why are you still like shit talking him? But I don't know. Anyways, that's how I feel about the whole Gable situation. I feel like Gable just hasn't quite earned it just yet. Storyline wise,
It's gonna be hard because like
physically, Gable's earned it absolutely.
No, he has. If I know Sammy has his own story that has like no face on it, where it's like I do need to like redeem myself, and I think this is one way. Whereas Gable has the backstory of I have fought Gunther, and I might have been the closest person to beat him. So I do think those are the front runners, but I do think it's going to be Sami Zayn, which is why I state that if it's Sammy and Gunther, Gunther wins. If it's Gable, Gunther, I don't know.
That's fair. That is fair. I suppose I wouldn't be able to tell you either. If it ended up being Gable and Gunther, it should just be Gunther because the match shouldn't happen at all to begin with, in my opinion.
If
But,
it's those two, I guess so.
yeah, I don't think the match really should happen. But if it's going to happen, that it could logically it could only be happening because Gable's going to win. So
And then some other matches that haven't been announced but are probably more likely not to be predicted are something with Logan Paul. We've talked about a multi-man match a couple times.
It should just be a multi-man.
I'm fearful that it's a tag team match with him and KSI against Orton and Owens.
Not yet. Not yet.
Jimmy and Jay has also been aligned. Something possibly with Bianca, whether it's Bianca and Naomi, Bianca
and Stratton,
Bianca Belair, or
Bianca and Belair,
and Cargill. So,
which I do think it's too early for that.
Yeah.
I don't think you
also don't have Nia and Liv on the card, and if you're gonna keep Liv strong for something, and then they're not gonna be in the world title match, do they have their own match? Because Liv did attack Nia.
Yeah, they've had a whole thing where Liv Morgan's like upset with Becky for constantly interrupting in their matches, and then Nia doesn't really care, and Nia just does what Nia does.
Exactly. So if you're gonna have Liv face Rhea, I do think that Liv can beat Nia at Mania to beat a dragon on the way to the other dragon. Hey, I beat a monster. I beaten you last. It's me and you at Backlash. So that's kind of how I.
Yeah, I see Rhea Liv at Backlash. Maybe Becky Nia. I don't know. It's hard trying to figure out stuff for these.
I do not want to see Becky Nia. I'm so done with it.
Yeah, we don't need to see it anymore, really. But
when your most entertaining aspect was an accident, it's not good. It was an accident. The bloody nose was an accident. Obviously, they worked it into their storyline, which is what they had to do. Otherwise, they were going to lose, much needed steam. But come on, it wasn't something that you guys planned to do. So
and it's done now. They've already had their blow off match.
Yeah, which is that.
The Backlash match should absolutely be. I think Liv Rhea.
So
whatever they do, I don't know. Maybe for Nia and Becky, they can do the women's mid card match. There's a thought. We could.
When
you have so many extra women,
the Raw after Mania announced the mid card title. Announce the mid card title,
like you did with
start the tournament. Have it be something where even if it's like. It's going to be 16 women. We're going to have 8 Raw women, 8 SmackDown women, and then the finals is SmackDown versus Raw. It's and that's the final. One from SmackDown, one from Raw. Whether that's Stratton Becky, whether that's, because Stratton's on SmackDown, whether it's Nia and, I don't know, whoever you want to put as a babyface from SmackDown, it doesn't matter. The point is, it could be Bayley. If Bayley doesn't win, she could win the mid-card title.
True.
So I think there's... We've been saying it for about a month now, probably a lot longer. We want a women's mid-card title.
Yeah, it's been a very popular topic of discussion online. So it's not just us. Plenty of other people want to see it happen too. So what's taken so long? Because they seem to be having a very, very close eye on what the fans want on the internet. And the whole, we want Cody thing. They started addressing all that stuff like the next day on SmackDown.
No, we're starting to see that like reactions mean something.
They absolutely
they're bringing something. More. It feels more organic. Like if in sporting, if something's not going right with like a sporting team, I wouldn't say all the time, but there is a reaction. There is an acknowledgement. This is kind of like that where we're getting more of that. The reactions are starting to creep into storyline. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good way to keep the fans involved because what they say kind of matters more. That people in the ring are reacting more to what's being said. So, it's kind of like it's an ever growing involvement with the product.
Yeah.
So going from there, we're gonna move over to AEW, which we have a little bit of information to go over. We obviously had the retirement of Sting at Revolution. Almost 40 years of wrestling, probably a little bit longer than that. A legend, an absolute legend in Sting. There's no way to denounce that. Crazy match with him and Darby against the Young Bucks. So I actually have Revolution as on some matches that I still need to go back and watch. Mm-hmm. It's been a really busy week, but they've had a busy week. Not only that, they've had the debut of Okada.
Tons of signings recently.
We have a debut of Okada. We have Will Ospreay, who had his first official main roster match
against Konosuke Takeshita.
He had 2 5-star matches this week because not only did he have that one, but he also had his match against teammate Kyle Fletcher in another 5-star match.
Where was that?
This was Dynamite. So then Dynamite this past
Fletcher's
Wednesday-
back. Okay.
Yeah, so it's Mark Davis.
Fletcher's
Mark Davis is the one that's out. His tag team.
Oh, because I thought Fletcher.
No, Fletcher is he's the.
Is he having passport issues? Fletcher was in the news recently for something.
Something. No, but he's
remember.
the ROH pure champion. He's like he's one of their mid card champions on ROH. But and he's also stablemates with Will Ospreay, technically in United Empire.
Yeah.
So we got a fantastic match, crazy good. Basically, the ending is Kyle Fletcher is on his knees. He's kind of like out of it. He tells him, he's like, give me the hidden blade. Just give it to me. Ospreay's like, all right, gives it to him, pins him. They kind of console each other. We also had Don Callis, because he's trying to get in with the family. He's, digging Ospreay up. Then we get Bryan Danielson come out, and he has an interaction with Ospreay. So down the line, we'll have Ospreay and Danielson. That should be amazing. We had Samoa Joe confronting Swerve. Basically, Swerve was stating, this is, I promise you I'll become world champion. It's 2 years to the date that I was signed to this company, and I said I'll be AEW champion. I still mean that. So it's probably going to be him and Joe. We did get a little bit of Adam Cole involvement because he's starting to. He's basically stating that. On Revolution, Wardlow won a world title shot, so Wardlow will be facing Joe next. I'm presuming it's going to be on a Dynamite, but there's also dissension there of Wardlow against his crew of Adam Cole. Roderick Strong is the new international champion. He beat Orange Cassidy. And that's what I thought was a pretty good match. It's actually the only match I watched. And then we had.
I told you Roderick was winning that belt.
No, I love Roderick Strong. So I think it's crazy that I undervalue him in so many aspects. Mm-hmm. But then he's that. He was North American champion, tag team champion, NXT. The guy's had a lot of good representation, and I don't think as much as I dig him up, I never. Value him so highly. It's kind of a weird dichotomy with him. But
good in ROH too.
Yeah, and that's what his stable is right now. So
exactly.
We do have Swerve and Samoa Joe being thrown out there, but we do have this kind of wrench in the machine with Adam Cole and Wardlow. So we'll have to see where that goes. I know it's a little bit until the next pay-per-view, so we have some time. I actually don't know if the business one is a pay-per-view, if that's a card, if that's
Big Business is just a show.
Okay, so
it's just a show next. I think it's like next week in Boston.
And I know that tonight on Collision, we will get the debut of what they are dubbing now the Elite, which is the Young Bucks and Okada.
Wonder where they got that name from.
You know what? I don't know, but if people want to harken back to Okada's re-debut in New Japan, he actually had re-debuted himself as a cocky playboy heel who had just came back into the business in New Japan and immediately in 1 month challenged Tanahashi, and people were like, no, you don't deserve it. Who are you? And on the next pay-per-view, he beat Tanahashi for the world title. So we're getting the inkling of like the original Okada that we had seen in New Japan. So I'm kind of interested to see where this goes. So I'm happy for Okada, happy for these new matches, these new variations that we'll get. So I think that only time will tell. And if he wants to retire in another tropical place in Florida, I'm sure he would love to surf with one of his good buddies.
The big boys. Yeah, for you guys who don't know, it comes off as a shock, which, it really shouldn't have. Just about anybody who comes from New Japan as a free agent ends up going to AEW, aside from probably Tama Tonga. I think he specifically wants to go to WWE.
Yeah.
Now, Okada did too. Okada really wanted to go to WWE.
He wants to be in WrestleMania.
He wants to be in WrestleMania, the spotlight. He wants to be in the main event. I think, a lot like Mercedes Moné, I think Okada sees himself going to WWE one day. But the reason for this mostly has to do with Okada's time in TNA long ago, before he was Okada. There was an incident where, he wasn't treated very well. They wanted Okada to blade against his own will. But the Young Bucks were there in TNA, and they stuck up for the guy. And they kind of made sure that didn't happen, and they treated him with more respect than anybody there did. And Okada remembers that. Okada was the guy who helped Young Bucks get their foot in the door for New Japan. So this is kind of like a big full circle moment for them.
Absolutely.
So
I obviously see like where their foundation comes from.
yeah,
and,
this is
and
bound
what
to
this
happen.
means. I think this is funny because now when we get Kenny come back, it's gonna be Kenny Okada.
Yeah.
And it's gonna and then whoever Kenny teams up with himself. So it's very interesting. I'm liking where they're going. And I think AEW has a little bit of momentum going, with signings of Ospreay, signings of Okada, and possible, more incoming superstars, or at least having a good connection with New Japan to have that type of partnership. We also did see, as we kind of want to segue, Jungle Boy is now in New Japan.
Yes,
so New
House
Japan,
of Terror.
House of Terror, new member. So
House
Japan,
of Torture. House of Torture.
House of Torture. Currently, as of this moment, New Japan is going through their New Japan Cup. For those of you who don't know what it is a standard bracket tournament. It is, I believe, 20 to 24 participants this year, and the winner gets a world title shot at the next pay-per-view. Since the last time we had a show, we do have a couple of new champions. We have their new television champion. So Riddle did in fact defeat Tanahashi. So he is the third ever champion.
That's huge.
So we went from a year-long title reign to
Jr.
a 1 month title reign, like plus 1 month title reign.
Tanahashi.
So Nick Nemeth also defeated David Finlay to become the new NGPW global champion.
I think everyone's happy about that. Everybody liked that. Everybody liked that.
Good decision. Show ended up defeating Desperado in basically you can lose your title by count out and they go to 20. So Desperado's about to go in. Show is already in. And Red Narita, who's also part of their House of Torture, just grabbed Desperado and threw him back out. They got 19. 20.
There we go.
There
we go. I
show
like that.
won.
Oh, 20s Tekkens is crazy.
I think when you're going off the WWE's timing and you put both together, I think 13 would be like 20.
Sure.
So it's almost close. It's almost close.
Okay.
So if we're talking about pacing, because it's like 1,
it's like
2.
So it's kind of like
3,
the new 2K. Yeah.
Whereas WWE is like 1.
And then they let them do a
2.
move. Yeah, they do a whole thing.
3. So like if we're looking about timing, they're almost together.
Okay.
So right now the New Japan Cup, here's the first round matches. We'll go through them real quickly. Yoshihashi beat Kenta. Jack Perry defeated Shota Umino. Toriano defeated Takahashi. David Finlay beat TJP. Tonga Loa, so Tama Tonga's brother, defeated Great O'Khan. Chase Owens defeated Ishii, which I think is a huge upset because the size disparity and where Ishii is and Owens are on the card. Last night, I did see these 3 matches. I did see Hikuleo defeat Olgan Bolton. He's a young lion, so this was a pretty easy a decision. Shingo Takagi, Yuya Uemura was the main event. I thought they had a great match. He had his head shaved. He lost against Yota Tsuji.
The hair match,
So he had his head shaved. So he's coming to grips with like, I've lost my power kind of like. So and then he lost against Shingo. So I think Yuya's going through like a bit of a losing fade before he kind of comes back up. Okay. And then we had Gabe Kidd defeat Colin Newman. These 2 guys are both like British boys, so they had a really good style. I'm personally, where you're seeing Drilla Maloney, I'm seeing a lot of value out of Caleb Newman as well. So these are guys that I'm definitely watching too. Gabe Kidd as well. There's a lot of young guys here that like I'm like, okay, they have a good foundation going forward, and I'm not scared that Tanahashi, Okada, and Naito are getting old and leaving. There's people here that you can really value behind, put some stock behind. And then tomorrow night to end off the first round, we have Yota Tsuji and Jeff Cobb. El Phantasmo, Mikey Nichols, and Taichi versus Ren Narita. And then we had Zack Sabre Jr., Evil, Hiroki Goto, and Sonata have a first round bye. So we have a while here. The tournament should end around March 20th. And if I'm looking at the card, if I'm looking at this bracket, if I'm trying to think of who's going to be the person that's going to face Naito, I'm probably going to put my money on David Finlay. Loses the global title and then runs through this card if I'm thinking of who he would beat in the finals, it would probably be Naito's teammate Takagi. So I'm probably gonna say David versus Takagi in the finals.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, no one wants to see Finlay, man. But
I'm thinking of just like I'm thinking of both like
logically
of logic of where they would go, and he just lost the belt. Usually means something in New Japan. So
sure. What did it mean for Zack Sabre Jr.? They didn't even need to mean
anything.
I don't think it needed to mean anything.
It didn't mean anything. He got a bye in the New Japan, so he hasn't had a match yet.
Oh my god. Yeah, so that was just that whole thing with Zack is just to get the belt over, you know?
No, I know. And he did a good enough job, but he did have his match with Daniel Bryanson and he got the win. So it's not like he's been falling.
True.
Which in itself was a really good match. But I think that kind of ends this portion of all of this, and wrestling is just really hot right now, and I think there's always something to be watching. I think there's always something that
it's so great.
I think that the fact that more people are talking about wrestling on a more casual base is just so invigorating. It's the likes that we haven't seen before in like 20 years. And it's in The Rock, it's Roman, it's
Cody.
It's Cody,
Cody's
it's
huge.
Seth, it's
Cody's
being more involved in more pop culture. It's I think there's a lot that's working for them. Logan Paul really helps bring in a new set of eyes into them. So So I think that you're bringing in a lot of new eyes that are going to stick to people, and they're going to see that this is whether it's the same company they left X years ago, or it's a whole new company to them overall. Or product. And then, there's more wrestling. There's an AEW. There's a this. There's a that. There's a New Japan, and I think it's just the part of the ever growing world of wrestling. It's crazy. It's growing huge, and I think that we've been fans for such a long time, and people coming in are coming in at a really hot time.
Yeah.
So
one of the best times ever to be a wrestling fan. I remember. It's funny you say people just coming in. Like, I showed one of the first 2 matches that I ever showed one of my friends, Christian, plays our confidence game, plays both of our games.
Yeah.
But I showed Christian professional wrestling in 2021, I believe. And the first match that I ever showed him was a Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor at Survivor Series, where the rope snapped, where Finn Balor was
that was
the
Extreme
demon.
Rules.
It was Extreme Rules?
Yeah.
So it was Extreme Rules. Right. It was a really weird time. They did Extreme Rules in October or something weird.
It was, yeah, because it's the one where I think Bray and Braun had their swamp match or whatever.
Yeah, something to that effect. But first match that I'd ever showed a friend who had never seen professional wrestling before, and he's seeing the demon be like reanimated to some theme music, and then like a top rope snapping and a wonky finish. And we went from that to Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega in AEW. And
I do remember that.
That was the moment that Christian was sold on this whole thing. That was a fantastic match. A story is being told throughout the match. You didn't have to know anything about them prior. It was like Danielson's first match in AEW, or one of his first major matches. So to see that caliber of excitement in a match in everything now, in WWE, New Japan's kind of always had a stride, but just to see that as like the blanket over covering all of professional wrestling, and it's not just one promotion that I feel like I have to show like a new friend who's getting into this. Now I can confidently turn on an episode of SmackDown, and The Rock is out there calling us all crackheads, and it's good stuff. Well, it's entertaining, exciting stuff.
I was watching one of the New Beginning shows. It was the one where Tanahashi faced Riddle, and then right after that Nemeth faced Finlay. Karina was with me, my wife, and she watched him, and she was like, "That's Riddle, right?" Yeah. She watched it.
Yeah.
And then as an extra, she's like, "He was in AEW too." I was like, "No, that's Dolph Ziggler. He's in WWE."
Yeah.
He's like,
Christian,
"Oh, okay."
same thing for Christian.
So I think, and she knows enough that it's she knows that they're not WWE superstars. She knows that they are fired or released.
Sure.
So she knows enough that it's it's not all engrossed, but there is a lot of wrestling.
Yes,
and it's all important.
Yes,
and it's all big. And she was watching the Nick Nemeth match, and she's like, he's doing things differently in that match than he would have in WWE. I'm like, yeah, because
You
he
can
was
see the
only
style.
told
Yeah.
to do X, and now he's doing X, Y, Z.
Mhm.
So, and summoning.
Synchroing and
but he's allowed to do more, and so I think it's a very noticeable thing that people can tell.
Yeah.
if
Yeah, you can see the styles.
that-
People gave Nemeth a lot of shit. Like,
No,
well, the reason you're gone and fired now is because you
sucked.
never wanted to do anything. You never wanted to expand on your character. Like, okay, well, neither could LA Knight. And yeah, look at him now. Yeah. So yeah, to put that blame on somebody else when it's the company. But that's cool. That's cool that you can show it to outside eyes and they can recognize that. Like when I was able to show
like
Christian.
WWE's not the only show.
Oh yeah, it never was, never has been.
I think for a lot of people, they either blanket everything as WWE or they just can't.
They do 100%.
Or they can't escape there are a lot of like really funky moments in wrestling in WWE that kind of put a sour taste.
No doubt.
The Bobby Lashley sisters, all this other crap that you've done before with.
Yeah.
So
I
can understand where
like
you push people away, but right now I don't see them doing a lot of hokey stuff. Everything seems to make sense. Everything seems to have a reason for why it's done. There's no like super out of pocket moments. Everything is just like it's orientated to drive into a direction. Everything has like more things seem like they have weight.
Yeah. No, definitely everything matters. Everything counts. Every little thing that they do, which is so far and away from where we were when I was, showing my friends Demon Finn Balor dropping off of a top rope, like stories we picked up and dropped instantly, and that kind of does still happen. The unholy union thing, I don't know, where that story went, but yeah, every little thing matters, and to be able to show like the duality of wrestling, the Demon falling off a top rope versus Bryan Danielson selling an injured arm against Omega for an entire like 30-minute match that they had. Like a new viewer being able to tell the difference between those two things and recognizing what makes like a match good despite never having seen one. Like it tells you we are in the golden age, the absolute pinnacle.
Yeah,
it wasn't the Attitude Era, that's for damn sure.
Not for in ring.
It wasn't the PG era with Super Cena killing everybody.
No.
And it sure as hell wasn't the last 10 years where I don't even know what to call the last 10 years of wrestling.
It's like it's called like the reality era because they have all that stuff they were doing with like E! Channel and stuff. But like I know what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. Entertainment Weekly. I forgot.
I think
they like their Total Divas and all that.
I think when they had whatever.
We are in a new era now, just for the record. We are no longer in the reality era. Now that Triple H is running stuff, we're in the Trips era.
It was a SummerSlam where we had Damage Control return.
Yeah. SummerSlam in 2022.
I think that started like a whole new peak of wrestling.
I agree.
Maybe even a little before that.
I agree.
Not the Rumble, but WrestleMania on, I think they've been hitting a lot of good positivity, a lot of good strides. I know there's a lot to be looking forward to. I think from here to Mania, we should have another show out to kind of finalize the card and kind of give more of our opinions about what we really expect, especially with a couple more weeks of Raw and SmackDown in between for build. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and close it out here with a couple of updates here for ourselves. So we have been working on a lot of our social media bits. We've been working on a lot of our side projects and things like that. If you're here in Phoenix and you know of Fan Fusion, we're going to be there. We'll be there all 3 days. Yes. We're going to be engaging with our fans, giving out prizes, filming new content.
We will be doing interviews. We're going to have live mics, and we're going to be going around just asking anybody who looks like a wrestling fan, anybody who's at our panel that we know is a wrestling fan.
Yep.
Be running off some questions, and just like we did for our SmackDown Invasion episode, we'll be giving away some really cool prizes, not only in those interviews, but at the panel as well. Yeah.
So, we always try to do prize support for our panels. This year we'll have 2 panels. We'll have one for wrestling and one for our nostalgia-baited crowd. So once those have more information, Once we have an hour and distribution of that, we can give those to you for you guys to look into. And we want to have as much engagement as possible. We'll be hosting a weekend sweepstakes that'll be different from being at the panel and being having to meet us face to face. So if you want to do something like that, that'll be there for you to be involved with. We're hoping to have a new belt also unveiled by that time. We'll be passing out, our business cards, our stickers, everything that we can to really promote what we're trying to do here. Because, like we said, this is a big passion for us. Watching wrestling.
It's a big passion for you guys too.
And for those of you watching, obviously it is for you guys too, because for as many episodes as we've done this, you've been able to stay with us and acknowledge us and talk to us and give us, feedback. And we really appreciate that. And even just listening gives us that warm feeling that someone's out there is really acknowledging this too. So I really appreciate it. I know Corey appreciates it.
If you're listening to this on the Spotify podcast, we typically release these with a poll. There's going to be a poll for this one as well. We're going to run back the same one we did the last time. We don't want to finish this poll until we have an ample sample base.
We might keep running this poll all the way up until Fan Fusion.
Yeah, we're going to run this poll for at least the next few months. So don't worry if you don't vote on it right away. But we want to do this thing where we do a nostalgia review for wrestling specifically. So right now we have 3 different eras that
we've all picked
rewatch. So I personally went with the 2011 Summer of Punk. Corey chose. Did he choose WCW Invasion?
And so that's all 2001. And then I picked the SmackDown 6 era, which was from June of 2002 till WrestleMania.
Yeah,
so it's almost that whole year.
Yeah, and that'll be a really exciting one. I might have to vote against my own.
We want to go back. We want to see, the product when it was, maybe when he wasn't watching, maybe when I wasn't watching, when Corey wasn't watching. There's something that we could always get something out of it, and maybe we can see that hey, maybe that would work today, or maybe thank God that only was then, because it would not work now. There are so many aspects of wrestling that you can do a callback to. There can be you represent it, but I think eventually we'll have a decision made. We'll start watching them, and they'll be a part of our normal podcast too. But we'll also unveil the official launch of our Patreon on Fan Fusion weekend. So that weekend, it's going to be a big weekend for us.
Yeah, it's going to be.
As of right now, we're a little over 2 months away, but every day counts, and we're doing our part to ensure that it's the most engageful, meaningful time that you have when you're there with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So
on behalf of Corey, I've been Joel.
I've been your WolfPac Confidence Champion
for now.
For a while, until at least WrestleMania.
Until at least
1 month, by the way.
It's gonna be a huge card point wise, because we're gonna go off everything. So we're gonna have 2 nights of points, 2 nights of spreadsheets. It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be a big, busy weekend.
And there's been times where since I am the manager of our point system, if memory suits me right, I remember a couple years ago I just said F it. Everything in this match is 100 points. I think it was the Roman Brock one. And it was just spears and F5s and through the tables. And I was like, you know what? This match sounds cracked. 100 points, everything.
Yeah.
So you never know. Do that. Things could be spicy at the end of the day.
No one's got Roman or Cody as the captain, so I'd probably be fine with that. But yeah, again, crazy year for captains. Everyone's captain is going to be represented, at least from the women's or the men's side. So
I have Zoe and Grayson. I have no idea where they fit into the card, but that's why I don't know. If
they do Grayson versus Theory, that's your men's captain versus Corey's men's captain.
I hope so, because I also don't know how much they value their pre-show to put matches on there. I don't remember if they had matches on the pre-show last year. They might have, but I remember certain manias they would have 3 matches, and so I don't know. I just don't know what they value to put on the card.
Definitely Jimmy and Jay. So
no, they must. With Rikishi as the special guest referee.
Jade Cargill probably won't even be on the card at all.
I don't know. If she hasn't been mentioned right now, then it's just kind of a hard thing to state. I know that they've been deep pushing her because they haven't felt like she's quite ready yet. So there's a lot going on there too.
I'm glad they're at least teasing Miz at R-Truth.
Yeah.
Give him that match. Bianca's definitely going to have to do something.
Yeah, Bianca and Liv have to do something, and I don't know if you want Naomi and Nia to be there. That's the thing is I don't want 2 battle royals.
What are captains? Nia Jax, we don't know what she's doing, but Kevin doesn't have to worry about that. He has Drew McIntyre and
he's
winning a freaking world.
He's gonna get so much points out of that.
He's hooked up. All right, well, this has been your extra Patreon footage for for the last minute or two here. We've definitely gone a little bit overboard, but hey, you pay extra.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
extra.
You guys so much. Give me 2 sweets and a
for life.
See ya.
Have a good one.